to Amethyst Talks. Today is November 14th, 2020, and my name is Amethyst Brooks. So today we actually have a special guest with us. Julian will be joining us. Julian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, how you doing, guys?
Awesome. So he will actually be joining me in commentary on a subject that's really trending right now, justice for Johnny Depp. And as most of you know, Warner Brothers fired Johnny Depp last week from his role as Grindelwald in the Fantastic Beasts franchise. So to give you a little bit of a backstory, we all know that Johnny Depp, or most of us know anyways, that Johnny Depp had a rough divorce in the last couple of years from his wife at the time, Amber Heard. Of course, she later accused Johnny Depp of physical and emotional abuse. And to be honest, based off of the facts that were presented, it seems to be the opposite. He seems to be the one who was physically and emotionally abused, but we'll get into that more later. However, this is really stirring the pot right now, especially since he actually just lost his lawsuit in the United Kingdom against Amber Heard for defamation. So to add him being fired and he lost his lawsuit, it's caused a lot of people to discuss why males who are affected by domestic abuse cannot come forward because fear of being called a possible coward or told that their side is not important. I mean, it's something that needs to be discussed. And someone actually started a slogan, Male Lives Matter. Now, Julian, how do you feel about all of this?
To be honest, I don't really know the situation as well as maybe some do. But to give my male point of view on it, I think that it's a lot of people out there that don't realize how many men are in the same situation as women. But because we live in a society where the culture of a male and how they're supposed to take on certain situations is like, you're supposed to be the strong, tough man all the time. But, sometimes not everybody man's tough, They have their own issues, and sometimes they can be the victim rather than the aggressor. And I think a lot of people are starting to see that these days. And when it comes to him, I feel like he was in a situation where it was hard to actually react, considering the way Hollywood is at the moment. You can't really speak on the things you may want to, or you can't even admit certain things these days without Twitter canceling you, or as he's already had the problem with Warner Brothers, they don't want that on them, so they pushed him aside and said, go ahead and deal with that while we continue on without you. So it depends, I feel bad for him, but at the same time, it's like, this is a situation you should have handled a little better than you did.
No, and I agree wholeheartedly with you on that. And I thought it was very important to have you on the show today because it's nice to have a male perspective. And so a lot of the times it seems one-sided because I am a female discussing a topic about a male being domestically abused. So it's nice to have a male in this conversation so he can kind of explain to me why that men feel compelled not to speak up because there's a stereotype that I'm sure you're aware of that men are cowards if they don't hit back, or if they do hit back, they are a wife beater. So you can't really win in this kind of a situation. Either way, you're either weak or you're an abuser.
Yeah.
So
there's no middle ground for that whatsoever. Yeah. Which needs to change, but as these situations keep occurring, I feel like it will. I feel like the rules will change eventually. The more that come forward, I feel like the more likely it is going to change. But it will take time.
I hope so, but with the Me Too movement happening within the last couple of years, right now I think a lot of men are scared. I mean, you have stories coming out that happened 20, 25, 30 years ago about supposed happenings that occurred that some people don't even frankly remember. So, with this kind of atmosphere going on, how this would be the hardest time, if any, to tell your side of the story as a man. Do you agree?
Somewhat. But I feel like it's kind of the worst time, but it's also the best time. Because before, you had to go through somebody else to tell your story and then hope that they told it the right way or truthfully or honestly like it should have been. But now that social media thing is as wild as it is, it's a way for you to put out your own message personally and tell your own side of the story. I mean, look at the situation with Meg Thee Stallion and
Tory Lanez.
Tory Lanez.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember his name. But yeah, you see situations like that and it's like, okay, now you get to see both sides. And then you can make the decision from there on. So it just depends now.
Still, with that situation, just because you brought it up, we still completely don't know what exactly occurred in
and
that
that's
limo.
the thing. But
so I can't really say she might have been abusing him.
But that's the point.
Honestly,
you got to finally see both sides and hear both sides. That's not something that used to occur 5-10 years ago. You didn't have that type of access. You could only read about it and form an opinion of somebody else's like facts of the situation that they made. Like you can do that now. It's different. So you got to remember that. But
No, I understand completely where you're coming from. And to give you a little bit more of a backstory of what exactly is going on and why is the subject coming back up when they divorced in 2016, and who I'm referring to once again is Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. See, they divorced in 2016, but this year, actually the end of last year, Amber Heard wrote an op-ed article with the Washington Post about how she feels as being a domestic abuse survivor. And that, of course, which it would to anyone, made Johnny upset. And he decided to sue her for $50 million in a defamation lawsuit in the U.S. as well as a lawsuit in the U.K. against The Sun because they posted an article calling him a wife beater. So at the beginning of this year, he released audio of several conversations he had with Amber validating and vindicating him of what he has been saying all along, that he has been physically and emotionally abused, not her. So if you listen to some of the audio that was shown, which you can easily look up, I can share a couple links if necessary, it proves that she admitted to hitting him. If you listen to their recorded conversation, she clearly has a temper. Johnny stays calm most of the time, and it's said that he continues to walk away when she does physically abuse him, or when she did physically abuse him. That's literally what she said, that he runs away all the time. And then you have her assistant even saying that clearly Amber is mentally unstable. Mentally unstable, that's possible, but something I would definitely agree with after hearing some of the audio is that she's clearly emotionally unstable. I don't know how the exact terminology to label her with the psychological term, but she is definitely someone who's very abusive emotionally. I mean, to gaslight someone while they're trying to hold a conversation with them, you really need to hear the audio. Every time he would bring up how she physically assaulted him, she would deflect and change the subject to something else. So that's something I would definitely recommend to listen to, and that it definitely shows me another side to the story, which I love Johnny Depp. I've always loved him as a child. So when he said that he did not physically abuse her, I believed him. But to not only have him saying that his exes, which are several other celebrities, even current celebrities that are on worldwide platforms, are sending support for him, saying he has never behaved this way with me, he's never hurt me in this way. Vanessa Paradise said he had been in a long-term relationship. Not one encounter she has mentioned was abusive. So tell me how a marriage that lasted in a year was this bad for her, that she was scared for her safety. I'll give you a little bit more of a backstory. They did divorce, and once they divorced in 2016, it was taken to court. Of course, they settled. She was given $7 million, which she claimed she donated all of it to charity. And then now, of course, it's being brought back up because of the lawsuit that's currently pending in America and the one that's already been decided in the UK against Johnny, unfortunately. Like I said, that is one of the reasons why this story is trending so much. But in that, I just want to expand a little bit more about that article that she wrote at the end of last year. She did imply that she was domestically abused and that he was so violent against her. And that is why Johnny, of course, is suing. I mean, to have a reputation as expansive as Johnny Depp has, and to have one person come and say something that could potentially ruin any hard work you have done in the last 20 to 30 years, 30 for him, he's been out well over 20 years, have all of that undermined by one article that you write. Even though in your testimony during your divorce, you clarified that no physical harm was done to you. You can't have it both ways. You can't be domestically abused when it's convenient. And so she's actually countersuing him for twice the amount he's suing her for, so for $100 million. And she's saying that because of his actions of telling the truth, by the way, definitely based off of the audio I've listened to as well as the images shown to the public, that he is trying to ruin her chances to star in the next Aquaman movie and cut her contract for L'Oreal. Oh, I think that's hilarious, since she just cost him his role with the Fantastic Beasts. Wow, she seems like the type that will flip anything. She would take a story from someone else and make it her own, similar to what her assistant said happened to her in Brazil. I mean, Julian, how do you feel about hearing all of this?
I don't really know what to make of it, honestly. From what I've heard so far, what I've read about the whole situation, it seems like both of them are pretty culpable in this whole thing. Like, I don't lean per se to one side or the other, honestly, because knowing you're in a certain situation like that, and Johnny Depp being as big as he is, you do have to handle it with care, considering the society we live in. But I feel like he didn't handle it the right way. He let it get too out of hand. Now, if you know somebody's very volatile and they're going to cause a lot of issues for you, then you need to plan a little bit better than that.
But that's like saying, like, a woman who's in a domestically abusive relationship, she should have left after a certain point. I mean, their marriage only lasts a year.
But that's also a situation that happens a lot and ends very badly because, yeah, they let it go too far, or they don't make the right decisions when they appear. You're not going to tell me that he didn't have an opportunity that would have helped him at some point in time, and he said, maybe not, because maybe she said sorry, and she said she wouldn't do it again, and she said she's changed. Let me give it another shot. I'm sure there became a situation where it was like that at some point in time. Considering how much time they had in, I'm sure that situation came up. So I don't understand why they let it get that far.
No, I can understand what you're saying, but I don't want you to put... as someone who has seen a domestically abusive relationship. I may have not dealt with one myself, maybe a emotionally abusive relationship. I don't think people understand the gravity of the situation. Sometimes you may want to leave, but at the same time, your love for that person outweighs that need to leave. And so as an outsider looking in, you're currently saying, well, why he let that get too far out of control, or why did he allow that to go on? He honestly was probably in love with this.
Now, what I'm saying is, I get all of that, and I understand the emotional side of it. But at what point in time do you sit back and ask yourself, from what I hear, he was going to his friend's house all the time. Situation gets so bad. When somebody literally takes a dump in your bed, I would call it a day, honestly. Me personally. And I've been in some relationships where there was a lot of toxicity, and I've seen plenty of relationships like that. And I see how one would come back, they would do their crying, and they say they're sorry, I would never do it again. And then not long after, maybe a month or so, sometimes less, they're back to square one. So sometimes I see those relationships blow up before they realize, okay, maybe I should have got out. And I understand when you're in it, you don't fully comprehend how bad it can get or where it's at that point in time. But if you have any good people around you, they should have helped you, and you should have helped yourself. And I'm not saying, well, it's so easy, it would have been an easy situation. No, but look where you at now. That's all I'm saying.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, because you can clearly see it was a toxic relationship. I'm not all pro Johnny over here, even though I do lean more to his side based off of the evidence that was provided. And any assault that she endured shows, or at least seems to be, retaliation from the assault that she gave. So what I'm saying is, there was some toxicity, especially if you listen to the audio recordings. There's parts where they would go from arguing, and then she screams, and then he tells her, can you please calm down? Are you okay? Are you feeling okay? And it seems like something is clearly wrong, because she'll go from this hollering attitude to, I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, that is not healthy. Like, that is a clear sign to run. I do hear what you're saying on that point. He's at that point, he started getting his own hotel rooms, stuff like that. And she got mad at him, and her whole argument is, how come every time it gets bad, you leave? Well, if you're throwing what they reported as vases and cans at my head, as well as putting cigarettes out on my face and possibly removing part of my finger, I think I would want my own hotel room too.
But that's my point right there. Instead of looking for a way out, you ran and hid in a corner. That's completely different. If somebody's doing that to me, I'm not just going to a hotel or something. You're basically just prolonging the situation. When you know it's bad. That's the point that I'm making. When you have the forethought to actually go somewhere because you know it's bad, you've made that decision in your mind, okay, this situation is not good for me, that I have to go to a hotel or I got to go to my friend's house, then you know. So the fact that you stay in after you know, I have a problem with that. Because it's not like, oh, I'm confused and I love him. No, you actually know at that point. You know it's a bad situation. Now you're sitting in it, knowing it. I don't agree with that. That's my point.
No, I understand. And one thing I do have to clarify, because it has not been proven yet, the defecation on the bed appears could have possibly been put there from one of their terriers. She is not confirmed or denied, but we do not know if that was human feces or...
it's feces. that's the thing. It's
Either way, I think it's still pretty bad.
No. In your bed, no.
And the sad part is, no matter how rich I am, if I have to replace a bed, Johnny actually said he laughed at that, but he said he knew it was it. That was the final straw.
That's all I'm saying. It wouldn't have been me.
That was the final straw. So, Do you think with this coming to light that this will open doors for other men to possibly speak up about the abuse they've received?
Not necessarily, I don't know, because on one hand I'd say yes, but on the other, considering how much vitriol he's getting right now from a lot of other males, not all males are supporting this. A lot of them calling him weak, and a lot of men don't want to be called weak. They don't want the world to look at him and see somebody soft and weak. They don't. So that also puts that out there. The same stigma, as always. You can't admit when you're a victim or you're scared or you're hurt. You can't as a man, because society says you're supposed to be the rock, supposed to be strong, always. We don't cry, we don't do this, we don't do that. It's changed a little bit as time has passed. It's not as bad as it used to be, but we're still not there.
No, and I think it's going to be a mixed result as well, because in some ways, yeah, there's a lot of women coming to men's defense, but at the same time, I do see comments like you just mentioned about men basically telling him you're weak. You should have stuck up for yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's sad because even in the audio, he said, I don't want to be labeled as a wife beater because you threw something at me and then I snapped and hit you back. He literally told her that.
Right.
So, and then not only that, with the court case playing out the way it did in the UK, it's, even if I did come out and tell you what is going on to me, no judge is going to take me seriously. And that by the judge's actions and his ruling, he's deterred a lot of men from possibly speaking up. So yeah, I think there will be a mixed result on that. I think some will be able to tell their story, but others are saying, well, what difference did it make? It didn't really help him none. His career is still tarnished. Right. So yeah, it's really sad. It really is.
It is. I just want to know, my biggest issue with it, and it's not to put blame on one or the other, I just like it to be told from both sides and it be fair. That's all I would like. She is just as culpable as him, if not more, but we'll say equal, just to say equal, because when somebody's aggressing and you just keep letting it happen, I find you responsible at that point too.
Well, do you think maybe she was, I'm not trying to villainize Amber, but right. Do you think it was possible with, at least I do, based off of the conversations I've overheard, do you think it was possible that maybe she was not necessarily blackmailing him, but telling him, like, if you do say something, no one's going to believe you. They're going to believe me over you.
I think she had a conversation similar. I remember hearing something similar to that, her saying that, and it was recorded. So, yeah, I'm sure she said that, but I don't think she had to. Johnny, I feel like he's seen all the other takedowns from Twitter and whatever. I'm sure he understands what would happen in that situation. So he didn't need to be told that. I'm sure he knew. But knowing and then still being in this situation afterward, I don't understand it.
I don't know. I think he was scared.
I'm sure he was scared.
You're talking about losing everything.
But he's just not anybody. He's had years and years to develop relationships around Hollywood and do things. And he's got money, so he can have a fleet of lawyers to come up with a...
You underestimate the Me Too movement.
Well, no, I don't underestimate that.
You would have thought Harvey Weinstein was untouchable at some point. But that's the thing.
You know, it's different than like not knowing your enemy or what the situation is. Then you can say, well, he didn't know. But to know the situation, see how it is for everybody else, then you have the means. So you can plan. And he did the recordings and things. But you can have a fleet of lawyers to sit here and be building a case against her while this is happening. And for some reason, he's very unprepared. So I don't understand that. When you have all these means that you do and you're this unprepared and she's beating you back to back, even when you have proof of her being just as culpable, you have proof. Recordings.
The judge
not that you can probably use them because she was unaware.
Yeah.
Now, if he was maybe in the Illinois or somewhere, there's certain laws where it doesn't matter if they give consent. But he was he wasn't there. But yeah, it doesn't matter. The thing is, he can lose all the court cases, but if he can win public opinion, that's all that matters.
Yeah, but at the same time, just to add on what you're saying, this is a young woman, blonde, blue-eyed. I mean, like,
well, yeah, we know how that
world's her
goes.
oyster at this point, and he
goes,
is an older male, so they're automatically going to think he was taking advantage of her.
Well, yeah, there's always that.
But at the same time, you see a lot of people looking at her as potentially
a
gold digger.
She's pretty.
Well,
and she's
even
pretty
Johnny
too, and she's a
to
sympathetic face, and that's how that goes a lot of the time.
I think that's definitely how the judge looked at it.
But people see her now. A lot of people see her now. That will have an effect.
And undoubtedly, I do believe so. So, what do you think the result will be for this this other lawsuit that is taking place in America?
Who knows? Honestly, because in a courtroom it's different. Emotions are taken out of it. Unless it's a jury, emotions are usually taken out of it. So that will be what the defendant can bring to the case.
Maybe he can bring more weight to the American side.
Courts are weird because when we think you have all the evidence you need, courts say otherwise. It's what you can prove. That's what it comes down to. You look at all the Zimmermans and all these other situations, and you're like, how did he not? We all know he did it, but it's what you can prove in the court of law. That's what it comes down to.
Unfortunately. Well, now, and see, the sad part is it's not always what you can prove, because I've seen juries indict people.
But that's what I said. Unless it's juries. Juries is where the emotion and the people aspect comes in. But without that, it's just what you can bring to the judge and say, look, this is what I have, and this is what I have. Who wins?
Yeah. But like you said, the court of public opinion.
Yeah, that will be the biggest factor. If he can win that, he can recover from all the stuff. The money.
I don't think you could ever make a full recovery.
Well, no.
But I do see a lot of people coming to his defense, and I think that you can't just look at that and say that's not worth anything.
Yeah. But at least he's not completely in the ground like some of the people have done that.
Oh, really? A lot of people's careers are unsavable.
Yeah, and they might have not even done anything, but they don't have the proof that he had. If he didn't even have.
He was smart enough to record it.
That's one thing that went in his favor. Otherwise, he'd be losing everything right now.
Yeah, that is actually what changed the public's opinion. Was those recordings?
Because they would have been online rooting for. She would have the hashtag, not him. So.
Yeah. Well, so besides that, Johnny also mentioned that he's thinking about possibly lowering his salary requirements for upcoming movies.
That's hard.
But you see what kind of result this has had. Not that he necessarily needed the money, and that will also allow other movies to hire him on a lower budget.
The way that he spends, he does need work. The private jets and things, he needs to, and all the paintings and things he would buy just because he's actually had to sell a lot of his things just to stay in his lifestyle. He doesn't want to fly regularly. He has to have a private jet. Private jets cost just to sit in the hangar. So, yeah, he does need work. He spends too much. And you know how that goes. Your income's not matching how much you spend, and then, you go broke.
Yeah, he's become accustomed to a certain lifestyle.
Exactly. So, he's going to need work. And the thing is, though, his career was still already kind of on the decline before this happened.
I wouldn't say decline. He's one of our top 10 Hollywood actors.
He used to be. But
his versatility alone will leave him as a legend.
He'll be a legend, of course. But how many people were waiting for the next Johnny Depp movie?
The new Pirates of the Caribbean? You weren't hyped about that?
I was done with that.
You're done with that?
I was done with it. I'm sorry. I'm done with it. It was been 4, working on the 5th or something. I'm done. I'm sorry. I was done after the 3rd.
I'm looking forward to that Beetlejuice 2 remake with Tim Burton, though.
I'm not. Beetlejuice is Beetlejuice. It holds its little place in culture, but I don't need no remakes. I don't need, the classic Johnny Depp little mannerisms and things. Johnny being, Johnny, but yeah.
I can't lie. He's played an important factor in a lot of people's childhood. So please do not take my childhood away from me.
No. I'm not saying that at all.
No, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying her. It's like you're taking a piece of my childhood.
It's crazy though, because you see a lot of them like that now. A lot of your heroes and things and stuff, they're not what they used to be. Like you had,
but it's not necessarily their fault. You have
it's
a lot
not
of people
necessarily,
blind.
but it's the world's too open now. With all social media stuff, people have too much access, so they find out things and that weren't supposed to be found out and things like that. Bill Cosby was part of childhood. That's kind of tainted now. You can't watch an episode of the Cosby Show without you thinking about it now. What was he doing with those girls in the background? What was going on? You know, you don't know now. All the pudding pop and all that. It's done now. Can't watch that.
It's that. But I will tell you one bit of good news. They actually asked, I believe Bob Iger from Disney. Mm-hmm. They said, what do you think about what's going on with Johnny Depp? Do you think that's going to affect the new pirate? He said, more or less, I'm not worried about it.
Nah.
And so that shows me that a lot of people are not going to... Why can't we separate the art from the man? I don't understand.
We can't. Because, like I said, you see how even though Bill Cosby and whatnot, even though there was not much proof, if any. There was no evidence really that it happened. Public opinion is what mattered.
There's too many women.
There was too many.
Too many women.
And majority of them, whether they came to collect a check or whatever, it didn't matter. It was too many, and public opinion already made the decision. So he was done. And that's all it takes.
His situation will be a whole nother topic, because we all know why that happened.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother thing.
But, I'd definitely like to have you back for that.
But yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, it's just, that's how it goes sometimes.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like we are now in this generation which it sucks, because like, let me explain something really quick. I love watching 90s sitcoms. And some of the stuff they got away with saying.
Couldn't do it now.
Like some of these jokes and comments that were made, you wouldn't even think.
Can't do it now.
That can't even be on adult television that shows at 8 p.m. at night, because someone would get offended. Exactly. Everyone is so easily offended.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not saying. What I hate is that a lot of people are using that you're easily offended in order to cover up some racist comments they really are saying, or some discriminatory comments to certain groups.
Well, yeah.
To cover up what they're saying.
They're playing to their crowd.
Yeah.
That's all.
But so I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you can't even make a comment about, I don't know, the way she looks in those pants without having a whole group come out and practically want to murder you.
That was actually in the commercial with Gillette.
Yeah, like...
Toxic masculinity. We can't even look at women like that.
Like, I think you're taking it just a tad way too far. Like, soon you won't even be able to look at someone when you go out, because they might get offended. Now,
it's how it goes.
That's a subject for another day.
And if you're in front of a camera,
talk about.
You better be on your best behavior.
Absolutely. You got it where I can never pronounce his name right. Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Sorry. Yeah. I can never get his name right for the likes of me. It's the same as the actor who just played the Joker. Can't get his name right either. Joaquin. Yes. Keanu Reeves. Excuse me. I love his work. I just can never pronounce his name. It is known that when he takes pictures with fans, the way he keeps his hands is so that no one can ever say he touched them inappropriately.
That's smart.
He will find the craziest positions. Go look at pictures of Keanu Reeves with his fans. He will find the craziest positions just so none of the women who are running up to him, begging him for autographs, can accuse him of sexual assault, or that he placed his hand too low. He won't even shake your hand. This is before COVID. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. If someone grabs you from the side, I didn't automatically take it as sexual. What is going on?
You have to be that careful.
It's just,
and he's funny because people see him everywhere. He's just like a regular guy. They see him out on the subway and everything. Oh, it's Keanu. He's just a regular guy roaming around. But yeah, you seen that situation with it was LeBron James, and he had his arm. He was with the it was Prince William, and I never can remember. It's Kate, I believe so, isn't it?
No, for sure.
Yes, it's Kate, isn't it? And he had his arm around her because they wanted a signed jersey and wanted a picture with
Kate.
her.
Catherine, you mean? She goes by
Catherine,
Catherine.
yes.
Sorry.
Apologies. Now, he put his arm around her to take a picture.
Duchess Catherine, actually.
And they told him to like kind of lower his hand or move his hand.
That was because she was royalty. They felt like he should have never touched her anyway.
But my problem is, we're not in your country. We're in America. He wasn't doing it. That's how we do all our pictures. He's been doing this for a minute. Famous people and all. Your royalty over there. Here,
you still...
We have our royalty here. We have our Jay-Z, our Beyonce's and stuff.
That's actually what they said. Well, LeBron's technically our royalty.
And the difference is, I won't get into it, but the difference is we came from nothing and we're here. And you're not in your country. We're here.
They actually snapped off.
You're not our royalty, is what I would be. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry. I never understood that situation. But that's another situation where you have to be very careful because people, they'll get offended by anything.
I think all this comes back to why Johnny was not so quick to voice his concerns about what was happening to him is because this kind of stuff is going on.
And don't get me wrong, I completely understand that situation. I get that. And I get why he didn't come out. But if you're not going to come out, you have to start thinking about a way out of the situation that keeps you having the most that you possibly can. Because there is almost a no-win situation for a man in that. They're going to believe her side over yours most of the time. Because that's just how it's always been. And it's sad, but he should have came up with a little bit better. He wouldn't have probably won regardless, but at least he had maybe 70% instead of 50% right now. You know? That's all I'm saying. He could have had just a little bit more. Yeah. Still probably going to lose, but that's just kind of how it works.
Unfortunately. Well, wow, it's definitely sickening that this is even something we have to talk about, but this is what's going on in our world today. I thank you so much for joining me today, Julian. It's a pleasure as always. Yeah. Hopefully you come back and join me for another subject. I have plenty. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to.
All right. So, once again, thank you guys for joining me today. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Amethyst Talks. Follow me on Twitter at Amethyst B Talks. And hit follow on this podcast. New podcasts every Saturday at 4. Thank you.